I'd like to introduce a labor activist and community activist here in Oshawa, and somebody who was a member of the Durham Region Labor Council executive for a number of years, to be our guest speaker for the day, Mike Mutimer.
Good afternoon, comrades. Tiffany Balducci asked me if I was wanted to be a keynote speaker today. I answered immediately, said yes, I would do this, but I still questioned my sanity on doing so. She assured me that I would be fantastic, I write really well, and it would be a powerful speech. So here goes nothing. Before I continue, I want to pause for a moment and remember a friend from high school, Melissa Page. In 2016, she was responding to a broken down vehicle as part of a tow truck crew on the 401 when she was attempting to cross the collectors in the express and tragically fell to her death. The day of mourning is a day to remember those who have died or have been injured in the workplace or suffered illness in the workplace. The Durham Region Labor Council wanted me to speak about the upcoming job loss of General Motors, and as someone who suffers from bipolar disorder, to speak firsthand from my challenges from being injured in the workplace mentally and physically. I never really considered what was happening to me and everyone else at GM and our supplier plants could be appropriate for such a topic as somber as today. However, the more and more I sat with this idea, the more I began to understand the Labor Council's vision. When I've attended day of mournings in the past, keynote speakers have been powerful voices, like Sid Ryan, former president of the OFL. There have been moving tributes from family members who tragically speak for those who have lost their lives in the workplace or became ill in the workplace. When we speak of the day of mourning, I personally didn't know how to talk about mental illness in the workplace, despite that I live through it every day. I almost felt like it wasn't appropriate to speak about it, but again, this is why we need awareness. As someone who advocates for better mental health awareness and supports, I can tell you firsthand that this announcement hasn't made life easier for anybody, especially those that suffer with mental illness. Part of dealing with mental illness is the stigma that comes with it. The worst of my mental health manifests in anxiety attacks where my body rebels against me. I become violently ill. However, the moment I make the decision to call into work, that all washes away, but it brings back a tide of guiltiness that I didn't go to work. That's part of the stigma because you can't see our injuries, they're invisible, and it becomes hard to empathize with someone who is suffering. I'm fortunate that I'm able to function through my mental illness, but it hasn't always been the case. Mental health is absolutely crucial, and it isn't immediately thought of when we speak of illnesses in the workplace. It's often tough to prove that your place of employment is causing this. If there was a spill on the floor and I slipped and fell, my employer would be responsible for at least putting up a sign, or they should have had that spill cleaned up. It's very obvious, you can see this. Unfortunately, when it comes to mental illness, you're often left having to prove and defend your case why you're feeling the way you do, as if any of us have a choice. I've also physically been injured on the job on General Motors. I've strained my Achilles tendon. However, I'm quite fortunate. The WSIB did respond quickly and immediately when it came to physiotherapy and massage therapy. WSIB was created to help us, the workers. However, I know many who face nothing but hurdles when it comes to WSIB. I'm thankful to be part of a union who strives to educate their workers on the topics of health and safety, but I shudder to imagine the mountain that somebody who isn't unionized would face when trying to navigate through WSIB and the forms that need to be filled out properly, lest you face not getting the help you need. I promised myself I would do my best not to become political, but when we speak of the day of mourning, I can't help but think of the recent cuts to our labor laws. It's vulnerable to being injured or killed on the job. In fact, 1/3 of all injuries are from workers in the age group of 15 to 24 years old. While we see improvements in the workplace with health and safety training, such as working at heights training and mandatory women's training, the fact remains that most of these things that workers learn in the workplace should already have been taught in the classrooms. We see our provincial government let employers get away with not having to post our basic rights in the workplace anymore, because again, it's redundant and red tape. As a member of the Education Committee of Unifor Local 222, I believe unions like my own and labor councils, everyone really, should be pushing to have these types of health and safety training and workers' rights being taught in our classrooms. If our children are the most vulnerable to being injured or killed in the workplace, shouldn't we ensure that they have the proper skills before leaving for the workforce or entering the workforce? Shouldn't we give them the best opportunity to make sure that they go to work and return home safely? On this day of mourning, we fight for the living and remember those who have fallen. This year, as we recommit to being safe in the workplace, let's commit to push for more opportunities to raise awareness of workers' rights and the importance of health and safety in the workplace before workers even enter the workforce. Let us commit to putting this information into the hands who need it the most. By doing this, we can prevent these tragedies before they even occur. Thank you today for this opportunity and solidarity.